Throughout time, people across the world told each other tales of how they came to be, of heroes and monsters, romance and tragedy, death and rebirth. Mythology helped shape the ancient world, explaining the unexplainable. This is Mythology Unleashed. It is a day that lives in cultural infamy in the Western Hemisphere. A day when all manner of misfortune, from minor inconvenience to terrifying catastrophe, is said to occur. A day that can appear up to 3 times in a year. Friday the 13th. As the name would imply, Friday the 13th occurs when the 13th day of the month in the Gregorian calendar lands on a Friday. As with walking under a ladder, crossing paths with a black cat, or breaking a mirror, many people hold fast to the belief that Friday the 13th heralds bad luck. Though it remains uncertain exactly when and how this particular tradition began, negative superstitions have swirled around the number 13 for centuries. While Western cultures have historically associated the number 12 with completeness, 13 has had a long history as a sign of bad luck. For example, the ancient Code of Hammurabi reportedly omitted a 13th law from its list of legal rules. Though this was most likely a clerical error, superstitious people sometimes point to this as the origin of the number 13's long-standing negative associations. Another possible origin comes from Norse mythology. The story relates to how 12 gods gathered for a feast in Valhalla, but Loki, the trickster god, arrived uninvited as the 13th guest. While at the feast, the gods engaged in a game of hurling objects at Balder, the god of light, who was said to be invulnerable to any and all harm. Loki then convinced the blind god Hodr to strike Balder with a spear or arrow tipped with mistletoe, the one substance in the 9 realms capable of killing Balder. Unaware of mistletoe's deadly effect on the god of light, Hodr struck Balder, and he fell dead. This tragic event would begin a series of events that would eventually culminate in Ragnarok, a cataclysmic event of war and catastrophe that would wipe out nearly all life in the 9 realms. This may explain why the number 13 has a bad reputation, but then what makes Friday so significant? Some cite the biblical account of the death of Jesus Christ as an originating source. In the story of the Last Supper, Jesus dines with his 12 disciples on the 13th of Nisan, Maundy Thursday, and relays to them a prediction that one of them will betray him before the night is over. The 13th attendant to arrive at the gathering was in fact Judas Iscariot, who would in turn betray Jesus to the high priest Caiaphas and Pontius Pilate. The following day, Good Friday, Jesus was crucified and died. In October of 1307, officers of King Philip IV of France arrested hundreds of the Knights Templar, a powerful religious and military order formed in the 12th century for the defense of the Holy Land. Arrested on various charges of illegal behavior, many of the order were subsequently executed. Some speculate that the mass execution of soldiers dedicated to Christ created a curse upon the notorious date. But whatever the origins behind the superstition may be, in more recent times, a number of other traumatic events have occurred on Friday the 13th. The German bombing of Buckingham Palace in September of 1940. The murder of Kitty Genovese in Queens, New York, 1964. A cyclone that killed more than 300,000 people in Bangladesh in 1970. The disappearance of a Chilean Air Force plane in the Andes, the death of rapper Tupac Shakur, and the crash of the Costa Condoria cruise ship off the coast of Italy in 2012. The stigma surrounding the superstitious day runs incredibly strong in modern times. According to the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute in Asheville, North Carolina, millions of Americans are, to some degree or another, afraid of Friday the 13th. Many are even too afraid to utter the words Friday the 13th. Many will avoid flying on a plane, going to work, or even getting out of bed. Symptoms of this phobia range from mild anxiety and a nagging sense of doom to full-blown panic attacks. As a result, many businesses, particularly airlines and public transportation, experience significant loss in business on that specific day. The fear of this superstition has influenced a number of works of fiction. Most notable in literary form is the 1907 novel Friday the 13th by Thomas William Lawson. The novel tells the story of a New York City stockbroker who plays on superstitions about the date in order to create chaos on Wall Street and improve his fortune on the market. In cinema, Friday the 13th would influence a horror slasher franchise of the same name, featuring a supernatural killer named Jason Voorhees. It is truly mystifying how a specific day on the calendar can invoke such fear and panic in such a wide populace. Could there be some underlying mystic power of the date that compels people to experience misfortune? Or is it merely folklore that has triggered psychological fear and questioning of daily events? Whatever the truth may be, the superstition of Friday the 13th has proven to be very powerful in the modern age, perhaps stronger than any other folkloric belief in Western culture.